Course in Miracles, Lesson 71, March 16th, 2021. Only God's plan for salvation will work. You may not realize that the ego has set up a plan for salvation in opposition to God's. It is this plan in which you believe. Little I, ego mind does. Since it is the opposite of God's, big I, spirit mind, you also believe that to accept God's plan in place of the ego's is to be damned. This sounds preposterous, of course, yet after we have considered just what the ego's plan is, perhaps you will realize that, however preposterous it may be, you do believe it. The ego's plan for salvation centers around holding grievances. It maintains that if someone else spoke or acted differently, if some external circumstance or event were changed, you would be saved. Thus, the source of salvation is constantly perceived as outside yourself. I call that writing scripts. Your ego writes scripts for other people in your head. Each grievance you hold is a declaration and an assertion in which you believe that says, if this were different, I would be saved. The change of mind that is necessary for salvation is thus demanded of everyone and everything except yourself. The role assigned to you, to your own mind in this plan, then, is simply to determine what other than itself must change if you are to be saved. According to this insane plan, any perceived source of salvation is acceptable, provided that it will not work. This ensures that the fruitless search will continue, for the illusion persists that although this hope has always failed, there are still grounds for hope in other places and in other things. Another person will yet serve better. Another situation will yet offer success. Such is the ego's plan for your salvation. Surely you can see how it is in strict accord with the ego's basic doctrine, seek but do not find. For what could more surely guarantee that you will not find salvation than to channelize all your efforts in searching for it where it is not? God's plan for salvation works simply because by following His direction, you seek for salvation where it is. But if you are to succeed, as God promises you will, you must be willing to seek there only. Otherwise, your purpose is divided, and you will attempt to follow two plans for salvation which are diametrically opposed in all ways. The result can only bring confusion, misery, and a deep sense of failure and despair. How can you escape all this? Very simply. The idea for today is the answer. Only God's plan for salvation will work. There can be no real conflict about this because there is no possible alternative to God's plan that will save you. His is the only plan that is certain in its outcome. His is the only plan that must succeed. Let us practice recognizing this certainty today, and let us rejoice that there is an answer to what seems to be a conflict with no resolution possible. All things are possible to God. Salvation must be yours because of His plan which cannot fail. Begin the 2 longer practice periods for today by thinking about today's idea and realizing that it contains 2 parts, each making equal contribution to the whole. God's plan for your salvation will work, and other plans will not. Do not allow yourself to become depressed or angry at the second part. It is inherent in the first. And in the first is your full release from all your own insane attempts and mad proposals to free yourself. They have led to depression and anger. And I said this morning, and a waste of resources, time and energy. Time and energy wasted writing scripts for other people, or allowing your ego to write scripts for other people. So it makes it easier to just have one plan. They have led to depression and anger. But God's plan will succeed. It will lead to release and joy. Remembering this, let us devote the remainder of the extended practice periods to asking God to reveal His plan to us. Ask Him very specifically. What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? So, you know that Taylor Swift song, what would you have me do? What would you have me? That's why I'm giggling. That's what I said in the live stream that you probably didn't watch. What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? Give him full charge of the rest of the practice period and let him tell you what needs to be done by you in his plan for your salvation. He will answer you in proportion to your willingness to hear his voice. Refuse not to hear. The very fact that you are doing the exercises proves that you have some willingness to listen. This is enough to establish your claim to God's answer. So, also in the morning live stream, I was talking about how your highest self is where God is. It's so how Christians say, let go and let God, giving the power and the glory to God. And this goes along with that. What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say? And to whom? You're putting this on God, but it's also putting it on your very own highest self. So I did some crying today. So my eyes are puffy. I had neurofeedback, and I started watching this movie called All Saints. And, this renegade yogi thing, I just do it like here and there, like little by little, what I can handle, and maintain my own peace and maintain my, my house, my kids and everything. So I just give the energy that I have to spare in this spiritual, what I'm doing, And I channel Neem Karoli Baba, and he said to me, it's really neat. You have an online ashram. And he said this a while ago. And so then I'm watching this movie, and I'm like feeling like I need to make more out of Renegade Yogi as far as how like an online ashram, something with food. And I have this dream, but I always thought it was kind of disconnected. But I'm seeing that I want to do like a males ministry thing. I have this idea, and I wasn't going to start it till Tennessee. But today I was seeing how I could do it here in Connecticut while I'm still here and start something. So I want to create I have an idea, way to feed people food, but also do like meditation and that stuff on, one day a week on Sunday. It was my plan. And I want to work out the bugs so that I can make it duplicatable all over the country or all over the world. So anyway, so I'm like, am I going to start a church or something? So I don't know, but today was the first day, so my eyes are still really puffy from just crying about that. Okay, so that's what's going on with me. Online ashram, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I feel like it's got to turn into something bigger. So I just said yes to it. I just said whatever you want me to do. Yeah. So we'll see what happens next. I have no idea. All right. So refuse not to hear. The very fact that you're doing the exercises proves that you have some willingness to listen. This is enough to establish your claim to God's answer. So then when I was getting my little notes about, oh my God, am I going to start some kind of a church? And I started fishing in my mind. And then I knew that I wasn't going to come up with it that moment. So I just said, okay, yes, whatever. So I said, yes, whatever you want me to do. So you don't have to figure everything out in the moment. But when you start to feel like something's coming, or when you start to feel that there's, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? And you feel some energy there. All you really have to do is not try and figure it out with your ego mind running the show. All you have to do is feel that something's there, information, and then say yes to it. Make sure in the big white spotlight of the highest, holiest source creator energy. So, Jesus, Neem Karoli Baba, good guides to make sure you've got the right God that you're listening to. Okay. So you just say yes to it, and then And then the information will slowly filter in. Somehow you may get your helpers first. I know Wendy's one of my helpers. I don't know how. But I know Wendy's part of my helping team because I saw her and whatever. Okay. In the shorter practice periods, tell yourself often that God's plan for salvation and only His will work. Be alert to all temptation to hold grievances today and respond to them with this form of today's idea. Holding grievances is the opposite of God's plan for salvation and only His plan will work. Try to remember the idea for today some 6 or 7 times an hour. There could be no better way to spend a half minute or less than to remember the source of your salvation and to see it where it is. Okay, so lesson 71, only God's plan for salvation will work. Begin the longer practice periods by thinking about that. Only God's plan for salvation will work. Realizing it has 2 parts. God's plan will work, and my ego's plans will not. Okay. And so both things. And then remember, God's plan will succeed. It will lead to release and joy. And then ask, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say and to whom? And then the shorter practice periods are holding grievances is the opposite of God's plan for salvation, and only His plan will work. So you might not get stuff quickly or in that moment, but if you just relax in the feeling of talking to God, then it opens up some kind of a dialogue, and you just allow to come whatever can come. I feel weird telling people how to talk to God or whatever. So that's why I like the book. This is a program. I hope you're getting a lot out of it, and I appreciate you doing this just for yourself, because one person can change the world. All right, I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.